Yes, yes. Welcome in. It's Balloon Party 101 ESPN. Timothy, Michael, McKernan, Jackson, Bennett, Burkett with you on the program. It's presented to you by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton, Toyota on 101 ESPN and the 101 ESPN YouTube channel. It's a program that solicits your involvement, whether it be in our YouTube chat on 101 ESPN's YouTube channel or by texting into the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646. Jackson has his Little Piddles Friday 6 shooter. Jackson, you asked Matt Rocchio, I thought it was politely, for the audio from both the calls of last night's game, also some post-game, and candidly, and I hate to say this, I thought Rocchio was rather disrespectful to what was a very reasonable request, and I usually am going to side with people from my neighborhood. Mm-hmm. More often than not, they have to be Irish, but I make an exception here for Rocchio. Yeah. I was candidly, I was alarmed.
One of the best things I've ever learned, Tim, is that oftentimes when people are kind of taking a dig at you or responding to you in a negative way, it's more self-anger. You know, it's something that they're upset with about themselves, and they're just projecting it onto you. And so what you have to do is take it in stride. And I know Matt Rocchio real well. I know how to work him. I know how to, I'm kind of like a ventriloquist in a way. Like I know how to coerce my man into, proper answers. And all in all, I'll have what I need. But I understand that, sometimes it's a little bit of a projection. And I love Matt Rocchio. And so I'm going to, you fight fire with love.
Wow. So you're a pacifist, even though kind of passive-aggressively you just called him a self-loathing Italian who you fist. That's what you said. You said you know how to manipulate him, and ventriloquist reference. And I caught the whole thing. It was very passive-aggressive. Now I'm on Rocchio's side.
Just in that 2 to 3 minute span there, I'm not saying beforehand he was being self-loathing or even afterwards, but in that moment I could feel a little bit, so I fought fire with love.
All right, fair enough. Jackson fights fire with love, so send in your fire. Many of you will. 314-399-9646, or you are welcome to participate in the YouTube chat. All right, here's what I got. This is what stands out to me about last night at Wrigley, and tell me, audience members, Jackson, Bennett, Burkett, if this is your reaction, because this is what I was thinking. Here's the deal. Full disclosure. I'm in bed with my betrothed. 13 years of loving.
And congratulations to you guys.
Oh, thank you so much. And I see the Cardinals are up now 4-2. They're heading to the bottom of the ninth. And in my mind, and I would bet many of you felt the exact same way, and we can think of teams, plenty of teams, and it's not personal shots at the particular closer, but there were some really, really good Cardinal teams where if they were going into the bottom of the ninth 4-2, you're in for it.
Yeah, it's a sweat.
And there have been a number of them. This team, however, is not one of them. So much so that I don't even think about going, let's flip off the show we're watching to watch the final 3 outs at Wrigley. In my mind, it's probably going to be 15 to 20 pitches from Ryan Helsley, and the Cardinals are going to continue this momentum. Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, Tommy Pham, Sonny Gray, 9 strikeouts, all of this positivity that's gone on since the trade deadline. Fetty making his debut with the Cardinals today, and here they go. Wonderful news. So what I do historically, you get up at what, 4 something? I get up at 5.
Yep.
And one of the things that I do, hosting TMA and hosting Balloon Party, is I will watch on YouTube both highlights of the game and then post-game shows for our other teams, or post-game shows on Bailey's if the app's working, and catch up before I come in to do my shows. And so I go to YouTube, Cardinals, Cubs, August 1st, 2024. I say into my remote. And it pops up, and I see Cubs come back in the bottom of the ninth. And so help me, I'm stunned. Because there have been plenty of times over my 40 years of Cardinal fandom when I wake up and I'm kind of like, I don't know. I know I'm going to check the score and they might have lost.
Right.
Or I went to bed and the Blues were tied, late in the third period. I'm kind of like, I have a feeling they probably was a late West Coast game.
Right.
I go to watch the clip, fully expect, it's not even on my mind that they would have lost the game. Furthermore, as then I dig into it and watch and read up, that was Cardinals Rangers 2011 Game 6.
Yes.
That's how close it was a couple different times.
Yep.
But alas, for the first time, correct? First time?
I believe first time this season that going into the ninth inning with a lead, the Cardinals have lost the game.
And it also speaks to, from a mentality standpoint, and I think you could even say just a handful of days ago, that the momentum has been so positive, as I've made the observation on this show plenty of times, that I call it equity, I suppose you could call it approval rating for the Cardinal organization in my lifetime, specifically though in my career, so going back the last 25 years, I hadn't seen it as negative as it's been over the last year or so, toward whether it be the manager, toward whether it be John Mozeliak, toward whether it be Bill DeWitt, toward whether it be some players on the team. But over the last few days, it's been like if it were a chart, it had trended in a major positive direction. And so it was about to go up yet again going into 3 more games at Wrigley. And so it's blindsiding for me for that to happen. It's blindsiding because the momentum, you're just in a good headspace. I'm looking at the box score. I'm like, God, there's Goldschmidt again. Another home run. Arenado drives him in. Pham, more hits. Gray, 9 strikeouts. Obviously, Helsley's going to close it out, and the Cardinals are going to continue this momentum. Who knows? Maybe this could wind up being the signature moment, that trade deadline is the signature moment,
the catalyst,
for the 2024 Cardinals. So, candidly, I'm blindsided. I don't go, well, this could, let the air out of the balloon. I'm not saying that at all, but I will be intrigued to see how this team, which hasn't dealt with this before, deals with the adversity that I'm sure they're stunned by taking place. I'm sure at this point for them, for those of you who can go back to Bruce Sutter, that was like, okay, it's over. Once he gets the ball, once Engine 42 gets the ball, the whole thing's over. And the Cardinals have had storied closers throughout their history where they've got the ball, 99% certainty rate, things are going to get taken care of. Helsley has been in that category. Whether you want to go back to Suter, Worrell, Eckersley, Isringhausen,
Ryan Franklin a little bit.
You would have a number of guys who they would be coming in and Mott was locked down in 2011. So Wainwright in the postseason in 2006. So with that all said, that was alarming. So what do we have here on the sound that Rocchio would not give you?
This is the Cubs walking it off as heard on the Marquee Sports Network last night.
Here comes. The other way, slicing, fair ball! Here comes Dansby! Ball game! Cubs win! Mike Tuchman walks it off! That's a comeback for you.
That is the win of the year right there, Boone.
Here comes.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, win of the year. I mean, so I watched the game and I loved.
So you were watching live when this happened?
Live. I loved that baseball game last night. I know it was a Cardinal loss, but
the Mason Wynn home run.
That was incredible to see. Sonny Gray dealing. That was great to see. Managa was pitching well up until he threw a 54-mile-per-hour pitch that Goldie sent the other way. That was really weird. But it's a night game at Wrigley, which are rare, and it's a real good battle. Like, I feel like Cubs have been down a little bit. Cardinals have certainly been down a little bit in the last year or so. And so, to see this matchup where, the Cubs are in it, and the Cardinals are certainly in it. It was a really fun battle to watch, and I saw Brandon Kiley tweet this out last night, and I agree with him fully. It wasn't that Helsley blew it. It wasn't terrible. The Cubs just flat out beat them. It was the 6th time pitching against them, and it was a really good chess match where he had a couple guys down to 2 strikes with 2 outs and just lost it. And just they hit the pitches that he usually gets swing and miss stuff on. So I really thought it was an outstanding baseball game. Obviously not the result you want, but in terms of early August baseball games, that was as much as you can ask for.
Joey Vitale was in with us on TMA this morning, and I think that a lot of guys who've played in the league, and certainly baseball, you oftentimes are back at it the next night. certainly in hockey, you can have a tough loss, overtime loss, but if you're playing the next day, it may be easier to just move on quickly. Cardinals don't even have, 15 hours in between the loss and being back out on the field.
Right, for Fetty's first start.
For Fetty's first start. So if he goes out there and you get that kind of momentum from his first start, it's like, okay, that sucks, but we've still been on a roll here as of late. And as you said, it wasn't a case of, I don't view that as a case. I get it. It's a blown save by definition. BK, I share his opinion.
Agreed.
That was a case of some, seeing eye singles in a sense. It was just, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It just hasn't happened in 2024. It's not been an incredible year by any means. But if there's one thing that you can count on, it's Helsley in the ninth inning.
Yeah.
And so for it to happen, it took me aback. And it's, again, I want to emphasize this as a Cardinal fan. You guys know this, or if you're a fan of somebody else, there are ninth innings where, and there's plenty of teams right now who have it, where, oh boy, we're turning like the Orioles. For as good as they are, Craig Kimbrell is a heart attack in Baltimore for Orioles fans. So the Cardinals don't have that. So when it happens, it really throws you off that it actually happened. The question becomes, how do they bounce back? And you will find out here in just a couple of hours, because Eric Fetty will make his debut, and he'll be going up against Javier Assad with the Cubs for some day baseball in Chicago. By the way, Cardinals are favored. -115. Total is at 7.5, Jackson, if you like the over-under. What that tells me is the wind is blowing in Chicago.
Yeah, agreed. When you said that number, I saw it the same thing. It's obviously, but this is like if last night was, hit a little bit of a wound where the first time, you've blown a save essentially, or at least had the lead going into it and lost it. It's going to create a little puncture wound. Today, you cauterize the wound with a good performance from Fetty, and you keep the offensive momentum going. I mean, Goldie looks really good over the past couple of games.
What's going on there? That's good to see, man.
Really good to see. You're getting pop. Tommy Pham has charged up the team. He got another hit last night. Like, you can just tell that the offense seems like every at-bat in parts of May, June, certainly April, July, you're like, oh, man, I could just feel like the energy at these at-bats just aren't there necessarily. It's just like I don't get that feeling. The recent games, like the last week, have just been outstanding in terms of plate appearances. And
along those lines, that's the thing. Listen, I think if you've listened to me do this show or any, TMA, I guess, would be the other show, since that's been what I've been doing, I'm not going to come in and go, hey, I know they lost, but let's talk about, how good this stuff is. Whatever I think, I say, you might like it, you might not like it, whatever. Super cool. I might be wrong. But from a momentum / positivity standpoint, I personally feel much better about this team than I did even a week ago. And in addition to what took place at the deadline, what you cited is so true, specific to Paul Goldschmidt.
Yeah, man.
I mean, if that gets going, 3 hits last night, including another home run. He's now up to 17 for the season, and it was 2 hits for that day game against the Rangers the day before. 2 hits on July 29th, 2 hits on July 28th, and 2 hits and a home run, 2 hits on the 28th and a home run on the 28th, and including that walk-off, and then 2 hits to open up the series against the Nationals, which was a week ago. So what Paul Goldschmidt has been doing here as of late, really since about the All-Star break, that's a hell of a lot closer to the 2022 Paul Goldschmidt than what we saw for the first 4-ish months of the season. That's incredibly encouraging.
Yeah. And from like a baseball nerdy standpoint, like obviously the power being there is so great, but like what I've noticed a lot in the past couple weeks is it's not as much flailing at the outside breaking ball from righties. That was killing him at the first part of the year. It was like they throw a slider outside and the goalie's going to put a bad swing on it. He's done a lot better from what I've seen, taking those pitches, finding his ball, and then forcing guys to throw fastballs to him, and that's what we know he can hammer, righty or lefty. So it was really encouraging this past week.
And I don't know if there's anything to it or not, or it could just be a coincidence, but Nolan Arenado is 4 for 8 since Pham came over. It could just be something, could maybe not be. I have no idea. Like I said, man, when I heard Adam Wainwright saying what he was saying on the opening drive, which was a hell of an interview, but about how Pham stood up and, just in my mind, I'm like, okay, Tommy Pham's going to stand up and yell, and there's Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado and whoever else you'd want to cite in that clubhouse. They're going to go, okay, thanks, journeyman, have a seat.
Right.
Well, I mean, he did it 2 months in, and Yadier Molina and Adam Wainwright. I'm like, okay, guess I'm wrong. I got to be wrong. So maybe there's something to it. And I've heard all these people raving about this guy's a winner. He's consumed by winning. All I know is if you have the younger guys who have been raking, Wynn did it again last night, Burleson continuing to do it, if that can continue along with whatever Pham is bringing to the table, but specifically Goldschmidt and Arenado, that, to me, that raises the ceiling for this team's potential substantially, because then it becomes a different team than the team that we've seen for the first, 2/3 of the season. The Cardinals are now in the final third of the season. That's a material difference. Your thoughts on the topic, 314-399-9646, and, of course, the YouTube chat as well. Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett with you. This is Balloon Party at 101 ESPN. Welcome back. Balloon Party 101 ESPN. Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett with you. Show brought to you by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota. YouTube chat, active Jackson. And is the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646. Jackson has his Friday six-shooter as the first 20 minutes of the show on the Cardinals and Cubs and the bottom of the ninth inning loss last night. Jackson, what is your first question, ladies and gentlemen?
Question one.
Six-shooter.
So we talked about the Cardinals Cub game last night, and I was kind of wondering, what was like the best era and most fun to watch for you between the Cubs-Cards rivalry? And what was the last time you really felt it had a lot of sizzle behind it? Like that rivalry was like not, because obviously the Cards-Cub rivalry is one of the best in baseball, but it's not necessarily one that's as organic as some other ones can be. Like whether you want to take like when the Blue Jays and the Rangers got into it, and there was some real beef. Or Yankees, Orioles have had some times where there's real beef.
I'm going to text you my answer, but I'm going to ask the people what their answer is. So this way I'm not giving it away and I'm not prejudicing the audience.
Yeah, because this is the last time they're going to be on the north side to play the Cubs this year.
This is the last time they play them this year.
In general.
So what is your answer, texters and YouTube chatters? 314-399-9646. I feel very comfortable with this, and I think this is going to be the majority answer substantially.
Very cool.
So we'll circle back once we collect the data in the Air Comfort Service text line and on the YouTube chat. But I feel very comfortable that this is the answer.
Yeah.
Personally, I love it when I feel like two teams truly do not like each other.
Yeah.
You always talk about, because to me, when you look at the 2011 postseason, if you're looking at the three series the Cardinals played, the least good series was the Brewers series.
Right.
Because you had Halladay Carpenter, Game 5,
Yeah.
and that was a great series, too. That Phillies team was so damn good with, Halladay, Cliff Lee, Oswalt, Cole Hamels, and the Cardinals were matching it, with Chris Carpenter, but also with Edwin Jackson, Kyle Loesch, and Jaime Garcia, and they beat that team. Holy crap! And then you have the World Series, the 2011 World Series.
Speaks for itself.
Speaks for itself. But the one thing that you always go back to, and there is truth to it, is the Cardinals and the Brewers. Now, I don't know if it was necessarily the Cardinals as a team and the Brewers as a team, but it was the Cardinals and Nyjer Morgan as an individual, and then Chris Carpenter. If Nyjer Morgan was doing that crap on the Cardinals, I think Chris Carpenter would have lifted him up and pinned him against the wall and said, "Not here, buddy."
Yeah. Did you see Brandon Phillips in the division last year? What happened when
it didn't go well?
That?
Stop that crap. Yeah. So that added something to it. To me, the best as far as rivalries go that the Cardinals have had in my lifetime, so this is not really fair because now you got to be in your 40s to get there, would be the Cardinals and the Mets in the 80s, in the mid-80s. I mean, it was kind of a supernova. The year the Mets won, the two times the Mets won in 86 and 88, the Cardinals weren't really in it.
Yeah.
But in 85 and 87, I mean, the Mets could have rattled off 4 straight division titles when division titles mattered. But the Cardinals held them off. Those were battles, and they didn't like each other. You had the Keith Hernandez going from St. Louis to New York. He was kind of the face of that team. You had Strawberry and Gooden coming up. The Cardinals' style of baseball versus the Mets had some guys who could rake. I loved that crap. That made me fall in love with the game. I don't think if the Cardinals had a foil like that, it would have made it as good, which is probably why I have the affinity for division races that I have. All right, let me see if the text in. What has the text inbox been saying?
There's a couple of things what you said. They're not necessarily saying the year, but they're doing all of the highlights of that year.
For the record, I was saying 2003.
2003. So a lot of people talking
That's when Dusty Baker and Tony La Russa were screaming at each other.
Yeah.
They were throwing at each other. If I'm not mistaken, Jeff Facero was on the Cardinals. He used to be on the Cubs. And it's one of the only times I've been in a clubhouse where a guy did a post-game interview, and he's like, "Yeah, I threw at him. Who cares? I don't." And he's like, "Whatever, find me. I don't care." Like he was like 43. It's not like he made $100 million, but I'm sure he made whatever $10 million. Find me. I don't really give a damn. I don't care. Yeah, I threw at him. F these guys. I'm just like, oh, this is the best.
Yeah.
That was great. La Russa's yelling at Dusty. Dusty's yelling at Tony, and they're back and forth. And there was like a 5-game series in September that determined the division.
Was that famous Lewis, Kerry Wood,
That was 2004.
That was 4? Okay. That was Mike Shannon's incredible
Take
call.
a ride on that one, big boy.
He said big boy like 4 times.
Big boy to
That's
big
such
time.
a good, that's like prime radio broadcasting. A lot of people are saying pond scum when it comes to the Mets.
Yes.
Was that something that like someone said?
There were T-shirts that were popularized in St. Louis by radio personality J.C. Corcoran.
Got it.
And I can still picture them. The Mets are ponds. They were everywhere.
Wow.
Especially in my neighborhood on the south side. In my bowling alley of Redbird Lanes. The Mets are pond scum everywhere, which is great because former Cardinal David Green would be there smoking cigarettes. It was the Mets are pond scum. Benjamin Hockman just texted me, seat cushion night. That was Tommy Herr beat the Mets. And they
was
threw
that
the
David
seat
Eckstein?
cushions. No, David Eckstein might have been
But there was
10.
a seat cushion
Tommy
night.
Herr.
There was a seat cushion night with Eckstein. I know he beat out
This one, if you look it up, I assume it's on YouTube. It looks like a snowstorm with all the seat cushions coming
That's
down.
awesome.
Yeah.
I just remember Eckstein had
Cardinals and Mets is still the best. Like the Cardinals and Astros battled for divisions and in the NLCS.
back to back years.
But both teams would always say it's like a respectful rivalry.
Yeah.
There wasn't
a lot of beef.
There wasn't really hatred.
Yeah.
When's the last time the Cardinals had a real rival?
A real rival. That's a. So
I'm asking. I'm looking to crowdsource this.
Yeah. So like with the Cards Cubs thing, like my first thought, and it seems like I'm mentioning a pillow fight in comparison to some of these other things. But in 2019, the Cubs were right on the brink of being in the playoffs. So were the Cardinals, and the Cardinals win 4 games, swept them, if I'm not mistaken, in Chicago and knocked them out of the playoffs. And then obviously went on to the NLCS. But
Cardinals and Reds, maybe
2010.
That was good.
The Brewers thing though, like I know it was.
I just didn't feel like it was the teams disliking each other.
But I didn't think that they liked Ryan Braun. I don't think they liked some of the antics they would do when they would get to second with the little monster thing, even though that's super popular now for every team has something like that. But that was a little less in vogue.
Just been like, oh, these guys are nerds. I don't like there wasn't hatred.
I don't think it was pure
like the Brandon
hatred.
Phillips.
Yeah, that was real.
Yadier Molina.
Yeah, that was real.
But I don't think there's been anything in a while.
Not that.
Like they played the Giants a bunch.
Yeah.
They played them in 2002, but those guys weren't around for 12 and 14. I didn't really feel like there was hatred. There was this thing that got blown up on the NLCS broadcast about Holiday siding into Marco Scutaro, and it turned into like the Zapruder film.
Yeah, there's the Dodgers
off with
thing.
that. That was so. It's been 12 years, and I just discovered I'm still pissed.
You're a little pesky a little bit. Yeah. No, I hear you on that. I feel like we just need Joe Kelly back because he'll beckon a scrap. He's been in like 4 scraps since he left St. Louis, including one where he goes, F you, come at me, and just beat you up on the mound. I love Joe Kelly.
Yeah, fans can dislike teams.
Sure.
And they can dislike each other. But I'm talking about when the teams dislike each other.
Yeah, because there is that.
That's a thing. And I love that crap.
Yeah.
If this kind of happens in Stanley Cup playoff series, you go in and you're like, oh, the Blues are playing the Sharks. Okay, whatever. And then like by game 2, you're like, oh man, take your pick of whomever that can't wait to see them, take him out. That's what I love to see if the Cardinals can get into the NLCS and have that going on, a 7-game series. That happened with the Giants in '87. Jeffrey Leonard, one flap down, and then Bob Forsch threw at him at a game at what was Candlestick Park, and it turned the series. The Giants were about to win that thing and go to the World Series and have the Twins blow the fans in on them. But instead, the Cardinals came back from a 3-2 deficit, if I'm not mistaken, and because I was at Game 6 in '87, and won that series. And it all started, all the guys on that team say, when Forsch threw at Jeffrey Leonard, just like, this guy, screw him, because he would jog around the bases. I don't know what it was about. It was a really odd celebration
thing
with one arm down.
Yeah. I got to go a little more creative than
Chili
that.
Davis, even though Jeffrey Leonard gets blamed for it, we had Jeffrey Leonard on the show one time, and he's like, yeah, I got blamed for the Cowtown thing. And it wasn't me, it was Chili Davis. But Chili Davis called St. Louis a cowtown.
That's really
and I don't know where he gets it. But so then a bunch of people came to the Busch Stadium for Game 6 with cowbells. It was like a Mississippi State game.
Yeah, Stark Vegas.
Yes, indeed.
Yadi threw the helmet towards Raul Acuna, did the choke sign. I just
loved that.
Loved it. But I feel like if Acuna and Yadi were like meet up now, they would like hug each other and be all love.
Yeah.
Because he's so young. He was so young at the time.
He actually did the throat slash too.
He did the throat. That was awesome.
That was one of my favorite Cardinal games of the last decade. That's kind of a sneaker play.
Yeah.
Game 4, Cardinals Braves NLDS.
Yeah, and then 2012. I guess you could say like with the infield fly thing in 2012 with the Braves, there is a little bit of beef, but I feel like that was third party.
I don't think it was the teams.
Yeah.
I'm talking about when teams don't like each other.
Yeah. Well, I think like the early 2000s Yankees, Red Sox, when you had
So legitimate.
Pedro
throwing down Don Zimmer. God bless
throwing
him,
an A-Rod like every at-bat.
I am telling you. Yeah, give me that.
Yeah, please.
You know what I mean?
love it. I always complain about like benches clearing because it's so dumb, but that is what makes baseball like in the monotonous 1,500 innings per team you get in the summer. When you have a couple scraps like that, it really is awesome.
So as a fan, too, like, there's a great 30 for 30. And I said it one time, and you looked like we were going to get canceled when I said it. It's what we call that, Catholics versus convicts.
Yeah.
Which was a T-shirt, like one of the greatest selling T-shirts in the history of college sports, done by Notre Dame students. Mm-hmm. And they did this thing on Notre Dame and Miami's rivalry. And that game, which took place on the same day, same network, I believe, of Kirk Gibson's home run off Dennis Eckersley. Right. It was earlier in the day. Big day for NBC.
Jeez.
I'm telling you. It was October of 1988. Everybody's watching this game, whether you like Notre Dame or not, whether you like Miami or not. It's like, here they go. They're going to play each other. And then sure enough, they go down before the field, and they're just in there, and they're just beating the hell out of each other. You're like, yes! This is what we want, man.
Some scraps.
So that, I love when that kind of stuff lives up to it, and it's a real thing. Like if Missouri has a big game, like if Alabama wanted to fight Missouri in Tuscaloosa in 2.5 months, I'd be like, that's an honor that they care enough about Missouri. Like as be my alma mater, almost 8 hours away, I'd be like, oh my God, Alabama cares enough about Missouri. Don't want to fight them.
It's like when Georgia faked the kick 2 years ago
100%,
in Columbia.
Like, oh my God, they think think Missouri's going to win because you don't fake a kick against a team that you don't think you're going to have to use it on. All right, we're late for a break. 10:36 at Balloon Party, 101 ESPN.
This is Action Jackson with a Sports Center update. It's brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals lose yesterday. Final score of 5-4 in Chicago. They take on the Cubs again today, though. Quick turnaround as they play. 1:20 is the first pitch today on the north side of Chicago. Eric Fetty making his first start for the St. Louis Baseball Cardinals. That was their Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
I got to tell you, Benjamin Hockman of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch sent me a video of Nyjer Morgan getting ejected after striking out against Chris Carpenter. And it refreshed my memory as we're talking baseball rivalries, Cardinals-Cubs, favorite era of the Cardinals-Cubs rivalry, which my answer is 2003. Of course, it's the correct answer. And a couple things strike me there. That was outstanding. At the same time, we weren't thinking the Cardinals were really in it, so we weren't thinking about the possibility of how likely it would be that those two teams would play in the NLCS. And the fact that Nyjer Morgan started walking toward Chris Carpenter, and it looks like he starts to laugh.
Yeah, he pulls it, throws it, and is really not understanding who he just did that to, and then also who's on first base and who's behind the plate. Like, you are in the Bermuda Triangle right there, my man.
Yeah, it's bad idea genes.
Big time.
He takes his chaw and throws it down and starts storming toward it, and Carpenter's just like, wow. It's not like there's no fight or flight. It's just like, I can't believe this.
Yeah, and he's not like Jose Canseco. Carpenter, Albert, the bigger guys. Nyjer Morgan was not that big a guy.
That's correct. Yeah, that made the 2011 LCS quite satisfying.
Yeah.
Although I never really felt like that one was in doubt. I know the Cardinals didn't win it till 6 games, but I was real confident that one was going to happen. Jackson, what is question 2 or 3 here?
It's just been alerted to me that the Cardinal lineup is out.
Oh, I haven't seen it, so we can play guessing.
Yeah, we can play the guess. I'm trying to find exactly where it is.
Yeah, it's probably tough to find here in 2024.
Well, I'm going to actually go to the 101 ESPN Twitter account.
Good for you for not going there first.
Well, it is, but it wasn't up there, for being honest.
Oh, wow.
But now it is. But now it is.
Threw up his hands.
But now it is. But now it is. Now it is.
Unbelievable.
Hey, he still got it first.
Where is Tanner?
He still got it first. All right, righty on the mound, Tim. You can start it off.
Righty on the mound for the Cubs, Javier Assad. Cardinals throwing Eric Fetty. Wind blowing in at 14 miles an hour, if you like the under. Okay, leading off for the Cardinals, I would assume we're going with Mason Wynn.
Ding, ding, ding.
Okay. And then now it starts to,
It's this lineup, I would say, is a little bit funky, just a little bit, not in terms of players playing, but kind of positionally, positionally. This 2-hole especially. This is interesting. I kind of like it a lot.
So I'm not going to get it then. That's what you're telling me.
They've done this. They've done this before. This is not super rare for them, but it's a guy who's been hitting. I'll tell you that.
Tommy Pham? No, take it back. I take it back. I want that back.
Your hand was still on the chips.
Yeah, I take it back because they couldn't have done that before. I'll go Burleson.
The Biscuit, number 2.
Because I'm just they're not going to go right.
No, they will not.
Okay.
And then keep that same mindset for your 3-hole hitter.
Then I'm going Goldschmidt. Arenado. But I went right-left.
You did.
Contreras.
There you go. Okay. Contreras, and then your 2 guesses right there.
Okay.
Goldie 4, Arenado 5.
Righty on the mound. Are they sticking with the trade deadline darling? Oh, I guess not. I'm picking up a Reed. I'm going to go Brendan Donovan.
No, sir.
Definitely not Tommy Pham. Is Nolan Gorman making a...
Nope.
Okay, now
it's an outfielder. This person will be playing right field today.
Lars
Nootbaar hitting 6.
All right.
Pham hitting 7.
So Pham is still in there.
Fam's still in there. Donovan hitting 8, and I think you can know who's playing center today.
Michael Ciani.
Who was
picked up in our league, which of course doesn't value defense. I saw somebody picked him up. Michael Ciani, offensive.
That's a
Sunday
huge
charge.
tell. He has been. He has been. Yeah, he's really, because that's what I was always thinking with the deadline with him. I was like, if a team's out there confident in their hitting department, wouldn't Ciani just be red meat because he's lights out defensively?
Yeah,
but
if Michael Ciani we're in right field instead of Nelson Cruz.
Yeah, we
Cardinals
only
are
have 10.
Looking for 11 and 24. So there it is. Cardinals and Cubs doing battle today at 1:20 in Chicago. For those of you who are degenerates like myself, the Cardinals and the Cubs over-under is 7.5. When I saw that, I thought, ooh, must be some wind coming in out of the north, and that is the case. The wind is blowing in at Wrigley. Maybe that'll benefit Eric Fetty. Maybe the Cardinals will rake anyway. I really am. That's the other thing, though. I think I saw Goldschmidt doing an interview with the Cat on Bailey's, and we're kind of mentally trained to. You're going to. He didn't use this line that I've heard so often. You're going to win 60. You're going to lose 60. What are you going to do with the other 42?
Yeah.
And that's going to determine, unless you're the White Sox, what goes on in October and who gets to play and who's going home. And so, whereas for fans, I think losses and big moments can hurt. For players, I think there's a good chance that it doesn't mean that they don't care. It's just like, yeah, it happened last night. I don't know. We get to play today.
Yeah. Like
they've already moved on.
Yeah.
This can be like a narrative thing, and I'm being guilty of perpetuating it.
Sure.
I just don't know how real it is. At the same time, I really do feel like since the trade deadline, to me, the two most important guys as far as room for this team to improve have been hitting. Now, Goldschmidt has gone back a couple weeks, but as I made reference to in the first segment, Arenado's got 4 hits and 8 at-bats.
Yeah.
In addition to what you have from Pham. I mean, it's been a game-changing element to the lineup, albeit small sample size. So it fires me up. It makes me want to watch and
Absolutely.
get emotionally invested more than where I was on Monday when I woke up. Because, again, I realize Eric Fetty is not a name that probably... I mean, I remember talking about our stupid-ass fantasy league. He was, he's a guy like, oh, should I pick him up? He's probably a flash in the pan. He's pitching for the White Sox. Well, it has been going on. It's been going on throughout the year. He might not be a household name. He might be a draft disappointment for Nationals fans, but this has been going on. And if you do have Sonny Gray striking out 9 like he did last night, pitching as well as he did, and Eric Fetty in one of those goofball best-of-3s.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
that's a different element than what you had before.
Absolutely.
And then the whole world changes if Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado continue to do what they've been doing here as of late. You're welcome to give your thoughts. Has the ceiling been raised here over the last 72 hours? I have more positivity now, weirdly, coming off of like one of the worst losses of the year, because, again, these things continue to trend in a positive direction, and they're the important things to be trending.
Yeah.
Like Michael Ciani, hey, it's great he's been hitting. He absolutely has been. But at some point, you go, okay, that's probably above his skis. I mean, that's just not reasonable. Whereas Arenado and Goldschmidt, they can.
Yeah.
It's there. I can't imagine it's just like, well, they've gotten old. That doesn't just like drop off the face of the earth. All right, text in 314-399-9646, and you have the YouTube chat to participate in the conversation. This is Balloon Party on 101 ESPN. Welcome back to Balloon Party 101 ESPN. Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett with you. Jackson, 8 minutes until the weekend.
Yeah.
How are you going to make these sing?
So a lot of people would think like I do like a little like I'm going to ask a question I was excited to, not excited necessarily to ask, but proud of a little bit.
Okay, well, let's hear it.
Mike Trout got the bad news yesterday that he has torn his ACL once again, making this 3 out of 4 seasons now cut short due to injury. Mike Trout, a true titan of modern baseball, has a career that is full of personal glory with very little to show for it outside of his 10 figures of income. Trout has only played in three postseason games in his career. For reference, Juan Soto has played
2014 ALDS against the Royals.
Yep, and 3 games. Juan Soto has played in 3 times that many, and he's only 25. When athletes, especially baseball players, look at Trout, do you think they see him as slightly a cautionary tale? How do you think athletes balance the most possible money one can make while also trying to put themselves in the best position for team success? Do you think some guys even care?
So Mike Trout contractually has made or will make $282 million. Without question, a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
I'm on Baseball Reference right now. One of my favorite things with Baseball Reference is like who guys' careers compare to. The
like
names
war-wise?
that the similarity scores.
Yeah.
Ralph Kiner, Dick Allen, and Bryce Harper are the top 3 that his career compares to, just for point of reference.
Sure.
I recall Jim Edmonds, actually. He might have said this on the show, or he might have just said it one time when we were BSing. He said, it's funny when you're coming up, so probably his time with Anaheim, that you're worried about the job and making the money. Now you're playing, and obviously if you play well, that helps the team, and therefore the team wins. But that's the mindset.
Right.
And I think I think people can understand that and respect that. I think. Maybe not. I don't know. But then once you've got the money, you got the contract, then it becomes about winning.
Yeah.
And I can't recall which series it was that he was saying this about. It might have been 2000 when they lost to the Mets in 5 games. Great team, that Cardinal team. And I said, so what were you thinking as you were watching them celebrate? And he said, I was thinking how tough it was just to get here to Shea Stadium for this 5th game, and how we now have to get through all of that in order just to get back to a 5th game of an NLCS.
Right.
And that's not just like the regular season and an NLDS. That's working out in the off season, staying sharp, trying to improve, spring training, navigating the inevitable landmines of health and slumps of a regular season, getting through a team in the LDS, and then hopefully beating what obviously is likely going to be a great baseball team in the LCS just to get to that spot that you just were in. But the mindset changes once you've got your money. Mike Trout at this point, he could sign another $150 million deal.
Yeah.
Sure, he's added to his, contractual score by, 50% if he were to do that. But it's not going to change his life. He's not going, oh, good, now I can afford that.
Right.
That's not it.
Yeah.
That's not the way it is. I assure you, he feels a void by not only not having won a world championship, there are plenty of people in that club. It's that his teams, for the most part, have been irrelevant.
Yeah, never even a sweat.
And I don't know what his thoughts are. I don't know if he's done interviews on it. He strikes me as a guy who wouldn't pop off. But he's played for an owner who, from my standpoint, has just really kind of botched it with the spending sprees on position players, but never really pairing it up with pitching.
Yeah.
He likes the bright, shiny objects.
Right.
He's a guy driving a car that he can't afford while, renting an apartment, so to speak. It's like, what are you doing with your financial management?
Right. It kind of fits like the LA Angels are team number 2 when it comes to baseball in Los Angeles. And they kind of we got to feel like we got to get.
Right. You're exactly right. I couldn't agree more. That offseason when they signed Pujols and Hamilton, it's like, oh, who's going to pitch? Well, we got C.J. Wilson. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess. Good luck. It's just been, in that sense, it's been wasted. And I don't know. You asked if it was a cautionary tale. I don't know. I don't know if it's a cautionary tale because I don't know what Mike Trout
Right. That's the thing. Is like
did for it to happen that way. Outside of he's been playing for an organization that's misguided.
sign the contract, like once you become a free agent and sign and re-sign with, essentially, is it like how much would one person give back if you were making Mike Trout like money to spend 5 years on a team that is competitive every single year? Like, I don't know Mike Trout, obviously, but like, I don't know how some athletes would view that, where it's like, is it about getting the most possible money while you have this very limited amount of time where you can make ungodly money, or is it about, getting the ring or at least having a chance?
I think it gets to a point. Mm-hmm. You've got the money. I mean, I think Arenado is a perfect example.
Right.
I mean, he's making the contract that he has in St. Louis. He had in Colorado. The Cardinals just didn't have to pay for it, and to an extent, they don't now.
It's very nice,
which is really a wonderful arrangement. You want to win.
Yeah.
You don't get to become a professional athlete if you don't have the burning desire to win at some point inside you. Now, it can certainly trail off. That's something we were talking about Joey Vitale on TMA. We got to that point. I don't know which athlete we were talking about yesterday, but he said he had Crosby, who he played with, on a podcast, and he goes, how do you keep...
Yeah, that kid energy, that like young, like competitive energy.
And and I don't remember what did Joey say his response was. I don't know. I just want to win.
Yeah, it's just like it's the addiction to winning.
That's
kind of
the thing that Tiger Woods. He was good a long time. By good, I mean financially, and his kids and his kids' kids and his kids' kids were good 20 years ago. But he is look at him out there flailing around, at Carnoustie or wherever the hell they were, Royal Troon a couple weeks ago. He's still out there because he's still a competitor. Michael Jordan couldn't help himself. It's like, oh, you got a gambling problem. No, I got a competition problem.
Well, Braun at 40, right now, he's going to turn 40 in December. He's out there grinding with Team USA in Paris.
So I would imagine there's nothing Mike Trout wants more than to be able to get out there and compete.
Right.
But here's the deal. He's contractually obligated to be with the Angels, and they owe him, Jackson, I'm doing math on the fly, $222 million through 2030.
And
he is only 32 years old.
I know. No Gold Gloves either. Does that surprise you ever? I guess it's just all dependent on who else is in the league that time, but he has no Gold Gloves.
Plenty of MVPs.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been an absurd career, but as far as the fact that he's only played in three postseason games, that is even more absurd. And that's one of the things, and I don't like to do the thing like, it's like if I'm on a golf course and I just double bogeyed a hole. Well, it's better than work. I'm like, oh, stop. Stop. It'd be lovely to have our false perspective, $300 million. Don't get me wrong. But I'm sure Mike Trout just didn't show up and become one of the best players in the history of the game. So from that standpoint, I look at Mike Trout and I go, I would love for him to see him get an opportunity wherever it might be. I just don't know if it's going to happen there. I mean, that's an operation.
Right.
That's an operation that I think people thought were going to sell even more than they did this past Tuesday at the trade deadline. Point being, in St. Louis, while I realize there's been some frustration as of late, and I'm not saying people are wrong to be frustrated. I get it. But around the country and around baseball, the perspective that I think is correct is the Cardinals have been one of the 3 or 4 best teams in the game since 2000. Mike Trout's been around for a good long while, and the man's played in 3 playoff games. All right, time for us to shut it down. BK and Ferrario are up next for Jackson, Bennett, Burkett. I'm Tim McKernan. This has been Balloon Party, driven by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota on 101 ESPN. James Carlton, Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency, online at carltoninsurance.net. My insurance agent would love for him to become your insurance agent as well. And if he does, you will be thrilled with the kind of customer service you get from James and his entire team in Webster Groves. I know that one of the things that people just kind of inherit or just wind up signing up with a friend is an insurance agent. And the thought process is, well, everybody's kind of the same. What does it matter? And I understand that. I did the same thing. And then the next thing you know, you have a situation where you really need your insurance agent to work